Welcome, everybody, to the conversation. I am here with just our dear friend, Dianna Bautista. So, Dianna, thanks for being here with us.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. So excited.
Yeah, this is so great. Even before we were obviously recording, we got to just talk like the beautiful history that's here, how the Lord keeps us connected over the years is like one of the most amazing things to me. I just think it's so incredible. So, getting to actually capture your story that everybody else can hear makes me super happy. It's
Yeah.
just so good. So, Dianna, for folks that don't know, they may know Sheer Love or they may know Free Reign. If they don't, they will after we chat. But they may not know where you're coming from. So, could you just share with us a little bit about where you're coming from? How'd you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Corona, California. Corona, the beer, not the virus. Let me just make that clear right now. And yeah, I grew up in Corona, and it was a great place to live, a great place to grow up. And I grew up there with my brother and my mom and dad. And yeah, I grew up there. Grew up at Crossroads Church. My mom actually started going to Crossroads Church when she was pregnant with me. So I've actually been going there since before I was born. How crazy is that?
Awesome.
And yeah, and so I went all through Crossroads School there. I went through preschool, elementary school, and then into Corona Junior High and high school. So I am a true Coronian.
I love it.
And yeah.
What was kind of your Dianna your faith journey along the way? Like, were you like you just said you grew up around obviously the church? Were you walking with the Lord
Yeah.
early on? Did that come till later? What was your journey of faith like?
Well, I would say I really didn't know any other way to be. When I was young, it was just church. And my mom and my brother and I went to church, and my dad stayed home. It's just how it was. Dad just didn't go to church, but mom, we she was very important for us to go. And then around junior high, other things started being cool, and church wasn't as cool as as it was anymore. And we also had a youth leader at the time at Crossroads who was not who was very different than the youth leaders in the past. And yeah, he was honestly, like, crazy as it was as a 13-year-old girl. I was looking back now, I was thinking, I don't agree with his theology. Now, of course, at 13, theology wasn't what I
Yeah.
was, the word I was thinking of. But I was just like, I don't like what's happening here. And if this is the guy that's going to be leading the junior high group that I'm supposed to be going to, then I don't want to go.
Yeah.
And I told my mom I wasn't comfortable with going. And she, of course, was not happy. But I mean, ultimately, she didn't want to be a parent who forced me. She
Yeah.
said, she says, I want you to choose God. I want you to choose Jesus, which I'm glad she did that. I really, really am. The only requirement was that I go to church with her on Easter, and I did. I continued to go. But also along in that process, my dad ended up moving out. My dad, he had, there was a huge recession back in the early 90s. And my dad lost his job. He just lost all ways of making income. And so he ended up moving out. And his intent was to move out to go pursue a career and to make money for the family. But that's not what ended up happening. He
Hmm.
ended up just leaving.
Wow.
And yeah, and that's where it got difficult, because it wasn't like a definitive mom and dad are separating, and like it was a very
Yeah.
weird, lingery, like, we don't know what's going on. And I mean, it wasn't until after high school that I was after high school until they, like, actually decided, yes, we're separated. And then it
Hmm.
wasn't until I was 26 years old that they were actually divorced. So
Wow.
it was a really weird, I mean, it went on for about 12 years.
Yeah.
And during that time, my mother, of course, was very, she said, well, my husband's gone. My son and my daughter need a male figure in their life. They need someone to be that strong male figure. And in walks a man from our church who we met at disabilities in the disabilities ministry. My mom actually started the disabilities ministry at Crossroads Church with two other ladies. And like, it's we're going on almost 40 years ago that she started the disabilities
Hmm.
ministry. So cool. And but yeah, but there, a volunteer came through there, and he was a really, really nice guy. And my mom was like, you know what, he's really sweet, and I'd love for him to be a mentor to my brother. And he ended up using that as an opportunity to start taking advantage of my brother sexually. And
Wow.
he ended up molesting my brother for a little over 10 years. And through that, he molested, I mean, dozens of boys within the church,
Wow.
within the disabilities ministry. And then
Jeez.
ultimately, my brother, as he ended up coming forward and coming forward with this finally as an adult. It took him like 17 years
Wow.
before he finally was able to come to the point of finally saying this happened. And yeah, he ended up coming forward. We went together to the police and went together to share what happened. And he was arrested that day. And we went to trial. And through the trial, 14 men ended up coming forward saying that he had sexually abused them as well. And then he ended up getting sentenced to 150 years in prison.
My
And
goodness.
yeah, it was pretty intense. That was really, really crazy. But I mean, through that, I mean, I don't feel like a lot of people actually get to see it because there's so much stigma around sexual molestation. There's so much stigma around child abuse. And even more so, there's so much stigma around males, boys being, men being sexually abused. And, for years, I mean, my brother has shared his testimony on so many different platforms, and he has shared, he goes, I became a chaotic adult. Yeah, that's the word he usually uses. I became a chaotic adult. And it was because of the fact that things were happening that were so unhealthy when he was a child that he didn't know how to deal with it as an adult.
Yeah.
And he started acting out completely. Now, on the other hand, and we were also dealing with the loss of our father, the abandonment of our father, right? And then on my end, I walked in multiple times on this man abusing my brother.
Wow.
I physically witnessed him abusing my brother on multiple occasions. And I mean, that messed with me in a whole different way.
I'm sure.
I mean, and so, I mean, the two of us, I mean, dealing with dealing with the abuse that I couldn't stop, and my brother dealing with abuse that he didn't even know was happening because, I mean, he was a little kid.
Yeah.
I mean, he was so young when it began, and this man he was so good. He knew how to manipulate, and my dad was gone. So this man stepped in and started teaching my brother about what sex was.
Yeah.
And and what it is, and I have a message for all you parents out there. The first person your kid hears information from is usually the information that stays in their mind. That's the information that stays true. So whatever that information is, make sure it comes from you. Make sure that information comes from you. Make sure that information is right and real and is information that's going to protect them. Because unfortunately, this person who appeared to have very good intentions ended up having completely the worst, the darkest of intentions.
Yeah.
And so from there, I mean, dealing with the abandonment of my father, looking now at a man who was abusing my brother, and I could do absolutely nothing to stop this because I was a kid myself.
Yeah.
It would only be natural for someone like me to end up in a relationship that was also abusive and neglectful and it's like at the same time that there was all of this abuse, there was also abandonment, like together. It was such a weird thing. It made so much, like, unfortunately, it made sense that I ended up in a relationship like that. So, I ended up, I was married for about 3 years. And because I mean, I grew up in the church, I grew up in the church and I was like, no, like, I mean, you make a vow and you make a vow for life, period. Well, I mean, there was porn addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction. And there finally came a point where I'm like, I'm going to go to prison or I'm going to die. Like something's like this, like, I mean, I'm going to be, I mean, I wasn't engaging in any of those things. So like anything illegal. So I was like, okay, like, but I still live in this house.
Yeah.
And the things that are happening in this house are so, as my brother would say, they were so chaotic that there was nothing I could do. I was so out of control. So finally it came down to it. We ended up separating. And from there, I was like, I can't believe that I allowed myself to get into a situation that my mother was in. I allowed myself to get into a situation that my brother was in. Like all of these situations, these unhealthy situations, and it's because I never resolved them in my own life. And I think there's a great talk right now, a great dialogue happening right now around mental health care, but there still is weird stigmas around it. There
Yeah.
still is, you know, for as much as the conversation is finally getting started, which I'm so grateful, you know, I still feel like there's stigmas here and there where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's okay. You're seeing a counselor. Oh, okay, yeah, and yeah, I am seeing a counselor, and you should too. And everybody needs a therapist. And let me tell you, my therapist is amazing. I'll give you his number, and he will fix all your problems as long as you listen to him and do what he says. But you know, but I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like my story, as sad as it may seem, is not unique. I
Yeah.
don't feel as though my story is unique because, I mean, the statistics are right now that 25% of all children will suffer from sexual abuse. That's 25% that we know about.
Jeez. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, those are statistics that I heard when the trial was happening with my brother, he was sentenced in 2010. So this year it is 10 years that he's been
Jeez.
sentenced to 150 years in prison. So he's still got 140 more to go.
Yeah. So, Dianna, let me ask you this: like, so knowing where you are now, and we'll get to what you're
Yeah.
doing now, right? Like living in Asia, stepping into the call that God has for your life. Like you mentioned, in a sense, your story is not unique, right? Young girls,
Right.
young boys have gone through it, maybe are going through it right now. So now, one of the easy things to do, I would assume, and you hear this all the time, is like, as you went through all that trauma, you mentioned the abandonment, you mentioned the abuse. One would assume that at that point, questions about God and the church, it would be easy just to say, no way, like I'm out. I completely reject whatever I thought I grew up in, right? I can't imagine trying to reconcile that in your mind, especially as a young one. So what was the journey like, Dianna, through all those years with your faith in the Lord? Like, did that waver? Did you question things? I'd love to hear, what was that like for you along the way?
I would absolutely say that I questioned. I questioned everything. Now, I never fell away from God. Like, I never fell away from believing in God. I knew
Yeah.
God was real. You know, I knew God. I still felt God around me, you know, but maybe I didn't feel near to him,
Yeah.
you know, in a lot of those moments. I just felt like, okay, I'm out here alone. Like, you're like this God that I learned about, who parted the Red Sea and took the animals two by two, and you know, was with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the lion's den
Yeah.
in the worst of situations. God was there. Why is God not here? Why are you not here with me? And I really, really felt alone.
Yeah.
And it was because I kept questioning him and I wasn't calling on him. I felt like, now again, that's hindsight. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot
Yeah.
of people could potentially be in that situation now where they're looking at like, no, I am alone. It's like, no, God is right there. You're just not reaching for him. You're not calling on him. You're constantly questioning him. And when you're questioning him, like, and all you're doing is questioning, you don't have time to listen. You don't have time to
Mm.
hear his response. And I feel
Yeah.
like that's really what I went through for a lot of my journey I mean, when I was away from the Lord.
Yeah.
And but I always knew he was real.
Yeah.
I just was angry at the church. I was absolutely angry at the church. I was angry at a lot of things, and I really did. And I seriously, even like even on Easter Sunday, when my mom was like, just please come with me on Easter, I'd go with her on Easter. I literally would wake up at the last possible second to get ready.
Yeah.
Like, I made sure, like, I was so rebellious, even like as a 23-year-old going, I'm like, oh, that's Easter, I gotta go. You
Yeah.
know, but I would like just so rebellious even then, but like, because I wasn't reaching out to him,
Yeah.
you know, and it was just, and yeah. And I mean, and I feel like that's something that a lot of people in the midst of their darkness can resonate with.
Yeah, I'm sure. So then along the way, Dianna, like, given where you are now in that process, in that journey of walking through all that stuff with the Lord, like, when along the way did you begin to develop a heart for the nations and the things that you're doing now? Was that during that season? Did that come after? What was that process like for you?
Oh, that definitely came. That was at the very end for sure. Because when I was in the middle of the worst,
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about anybody but myself.
Mm.
I was worried about, how am I going to live another day?
Right.
How am I going to survive this abusive relationship? How am I going to survive this trial? How am I going to survive? And this was also what happened, what led up to it. My brother attempted suicide. And I mean, that's, and also, which is, it's really interesting now, and that was 12 years ago that my brother actually attempted suicide, which was right before he finally was able to admit what had happened to him.
Yeah.
And just a few months ago, my best friend Kaylee lost her brother Jared. And
Wow.
that's, I mean, and it's losing a sibling, like losing, like, and yeah, like, I don't know, like there's something that's so deep. And so, like, I mean, and I remember when Jared died, Jared Wilson, Pastor Jared Wilson, who's from
Okay.
Harvest, um, Kaylee, who's my best friend, you know, I mean, and I've known Jared for 10 years too. I mean, losing Jared, like, it took me right back to how I felt like when I thought I lost my brother.
Wow.
And it's just like, you know, and feeling like you, this is the person that you grow up with. You're they're the closest person in your life,
Right.
you know, and, feeling like, I mean, and I thought I lost him. Like I really, like, I thought he was gone.
Yeah.
And then experiencing that all over again with my best friend. It's like, I mean, there are times when people get so deep in their darkness that I mean, that they feel that people really feel, like, I can't even imagine living in a brain like that, living in someone's head where they feel like death is better than this. And
Yeah.
that's not, I mean, that's the enemy 100%. I
Yeah.
don't think that naturally we have that in us.
Right.
I really, really don't. And I really believe that I have veered completely off of what your question was. But
No,
I
no.
felt
This
like,
this
I
is
don't know,
exactly what it's
that's
supposed
for
to be.
someone.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? But that's for someone, honestly, because it's like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't feel like that is naturally within us. I really, really don't. And so, like, when you, I don't know, when you know someone that's going through something deep and dark, I
Right.
mean, know that there's something much bigger.
Right.
It's not about being selfish. It's not about, I mean, it's not about, you know, the stigmas, you know, the buzzwords that people are using or surrounding it. But I mean, depression is a real thing. And that's something that, I mean, that's something that I absolutely experienced
Yeah.
in my time away from God. I've experienced depression even when I've been close to God.
Yeah.
I really have. I mean, even in this season now, like, I mean, when I finally came around and started, when my heart really, really grew for the nations, it was it was at the very end of my marriage. I ended up going to Kenya. My sister-in-law, who at the time was engaged to my brother, we ended up going all together to Kenya, the three of us, plus Kaylee Wilson, plus Kaylee Mesner, plus like, you know, like, plus who? Oh my gosh, Brooke Blomberg, like all the crew, like we all ended up going together.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's actually how that's when you and I met. You and I met right around that trip.
Right.
And yeah, it was incredible. And so yeah, we all ended up going together. It was completely life-changing. Now, I do hair. I'm a hairstylist by trade. And while I was there, we ended up seeing a few women that were there sitting on little stools braiding people's hair. And there was a little sign on their little shack. It was a literal metal, like corrugated metal shack.
Yeah.
And they painted on there salon. Weird. And I was like, that is crazy. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. So, I mean, and I am extremely passionate about hair. And since I was 5 years old, when my kindergarten teacher said, what do you want to be when you grow up? There's little boys. I want to be a policeman. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be an astronaut. And all the little girls, I want to be a ballerina. I want to do hair. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one in my class that actually followed through with their career choices. But I've always been hugely passionate about hair and what it does for you. And I think, and that all started with my mom burned me when I was 3 years old, and I still have a grudge toward her. That all these years, more than 30 years later, I'm still mad at my mom for burning me. And then after that, she took me to the hairstylist and they cut me a mullet. What? Luke, trauma. That turned me into a hairstylist because no child deserves that kind of trauma. It's not okay. So I became a hairstylist very quickly. Like literally at 5 years old, I was doing all my doll's hair. And I wasn't really cutting my doll's hair, but I was like stealing my mom's like salon hair products, like Paul Mitchell back from like the 80s, Paul Mitchell and Nexus and Vidal Sassoon. I was stealing all of her hair products to style my doll's hair.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, oh, this is not going well for me at all. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't have cut me a mullet. So But from there, I grew this huge passion. And I mean, truly, like, I mean, I was doing like unbelievable hairstyling by the time I was 10 years old,
Yeah.
right? So as soon as, like, the day I graduated high school, I was enrolling in beauty school. I graduated, I went launched straight into my career. And so my career is like really taking off in the midst of my dad leaving, my brother being
Wow.
abused, me getting into an abusive relationship. So all of this is very congruent,
Yeah.
going along, so I'm having this amazing, successful, awesome career in the midst of all this. It was
Wow.
like why it was traveling parallel, but it
Yeah.
was just crazy.
Jeez.
But so finally I ended up going to Africa at the very, very end of my marriage. And when I saw this woman doing hair, I was like, oh, I got to get in on this. This is great. So I asked the social worker, I was like, where's the beauty schools? Where's the beauty supply stores? Like, what can I want to go buy combs and give them to all these ladies out here in the slum. This is so cool.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, sister, there's no beauty school here. No. We don't do that out here. If you know how to do hair, you write salon on the front of your house and you have a hair salon. If you know how to repair shoes, you write shoemaker on the outside of your house and boom, you make. And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, so there's literally no training for any of this?
Yeah.
He said, no, not at all. I was like, well, that's got to change. So in the middle of all this, so in the process of all this, I'm divorcing my ex-husband. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm learning about all this. And I ended up finding out that the organization that I was there with wanted to pursue building a beauty school. And I was like,
wow.
Well, that's hilarious because you
Right.
need one and I want to build you one. So let's do it. So,
Jeez.
yeah, so I ended up starting up the plans for that. I came home. I get a guy who walks into my salon. He's selling haircutting scissors, and haircutting scissors are extremely expensive.
Okay.
I mean, I know your haircuts are crazy expensive, so I mean, I'm sure you know.
I have a lot of experience, so like my heart emotionally is connecting with your story right now at like a very deep place of resonance. So yes, thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So so anyways, haircutting scissors are extremely expensive. So a man came in selling haircutting scissors, and he said, hey, we're doing this program where you can trade in an old pair of shears and put a down payment on a new pair. I was like, oh my gosh, that's great. I could totally use a new pair of shears.
Yeah.
And my, because like a decent pair of shears is $500.
Wow.
Like a decent pair of shears.
Okay.
Yeah. Like my
Jeez.
most expensive pair of shears is $1,200. Like,
my goodness.
Those are our tools. I mean,
Right,
that's
right.
our livelihood. So, I mean, you
Right.
spend a lot of money on that.
Right.
And my shears are pretty amazing. I cut myself often. They're pretty
Yeah.
great shears. So, and so I was like, yeah, no, I'll totally do that. And I was like, well, what are you going to be doing with the shears that I give you? Like with the
Yeah.
ones I trade in? And he's like, oh, we're going to be going down to South America and we're going to be teaching women down there in the favelas. The favelas are the slums.
Okay.
We're going to be teaching women in the favelas how to do hair. And I'm like, I'm going to go with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with you. So you need to call somebody and tell them that I'm going.
Right.
You need to call them right now. Excuse me, sir, you're not calling anyone. You need to call them right now.
Right.
Like I was being extremely persistent and very pushy. And he was like, okay, I'll call someone right now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't really know what to do because no one's ever actually said that they wanted to go on a trip. So this is very weird. And I was like, well, I'm going. So I interviewed the following week. I was the first person that they accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up going to Brazil before I went back to Kenya to build the salon. I ended up going to Brazil and I worked with a team of hairstylists and we trained about 18 to 20 women. All came from very different socioeconomic backgrounds.
Right.
All of them were poor. A few of them came from prostitution. A few came from drug trafficking. A few came from, a lot of them came from domestic violent relationships. And it was really, really incredible. And in the process there, I ended up meeting one of our students, and she said, I really want to talk to you. And this was with a non-religious, non-Christian organization. And so we just seriously went to teach hair. We were not going to do any kind of Bible studies, any kind of evangelizing. And I was like, I just want to serve. I don't care in what capacity. I just want to serve. And if this is what I'm going to do to serve, then this is all I'm going to do. And I follow the rules and that's it.
Right.
So I get there and this girl there's two girls that are very, very important in Brazil, and they're two of my favorite human beings in the world, alongside with you. But these women literally are like, they're gold. They are pure gold. Okay. The first one comes to me and she said, I really want to talk to you. Like, I want to sit down with you and I want to share my story with you. And I was like, oh, heck yeah, let's do this. And we had been there for a few weeks already. So we sit down and we have a translator there. And so she's telling me her story and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm listening. I mean, this poor girl, man, she'd been through it all. She'd been, I mean, like, her mother physically abused her. I mean, like, she had been tortured. She was raped by her first boyfriend. Like, I mean, her story was incredible, right? Yeah. And so as she's sharing this story with me, I'm realizing, hey, she's evangelizing to me. Hold on a second. Wow. And I'm like, and all of a sudden I'm like, but I'm thinking in my mind, this girl asks me to pray the prayer, I'm doing it. Yeah. I don't care. I'm doing it. And that's it. If she asks me, I'm just doing it.
Yeah, you're in.
Because I'm like, how much courage? Like, I'm this freaking full-on stranger from the first world, really, like from the most affluent country in the world, okay? And I'm in her little teeny weeny slum, and she's evangelizing to me. I'm like, oh, I'm literally, if she asks me to pray the prayer, if she wants to baptize me, we're doing it. Okay?
Yeah, you're getting saved all over again for sure.
100%. I'm starting over, guys. That's it. But she didn't ask me to pray the prayer. But what she did say, she told me her whole story. I'm bawling by the end of it. She's telling me everything. And then she said, you know what? I don't know if you know Jesus. I don't know if you've ever known who Jesus is, but I see God in you.
Wow.
I don't know to this day, if I've ever gotten a more incredible compliment in my whole life.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I gotta go now. I gotta go to the bathroom. Like, I mean, serious, like, I was just like, and I just hugged her, like, it was amazing. And of course, no, I did tell her, I was like, yes, I absolutely believe in the Lord. Yeah. I was like, I couldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to be here in this slum where there's drug dealers all over the place. They all have machine guns, like, full on. There ain't no, I mean, they're grenades hanging off their pockets, literal AK-47s, like, crazy stuff, right? And, like, there's no way that I could go to a place like that and just teach and do, like, whatever if I didn't have God in front of me, like, period. And so I told her, I was like, I absolutely believe in the Lord. And she said, I had a feeling. She said, I really had a feeling you did, because you're different. You're different. I was like, oh my God, this woman, whatever, life changer. Then a couple weeks later, another girl said, I really want to share my story with you. And I was like, here we go again. Oh my gosh, I'm about to get witnessed to again. Here we go. And she sits down. 3 hours later, the other girl was just 2 hours. This girl, 3 hours later, we're both sobbing hysterically together because she just shared with me my testimony.
Jeez.
This girl witnessed her brother being molested as a little kid. Her dad walked out. She ended up in an abusive marriage. I was sitting here listening to her going, okay, like, there's no way, like, how in the world do you and I have we're the same age too. We're the same age. And I'm like, how in the world is this happening? And I told her, I was like, I just don't believe this. And I'm like literally jaw on the floor. And finally, when she's all done, I said, you just told me my own story. And of course, she didn't believe it either. She's like, no, like, stuff like this doesn't happen to people in America. That's where, like, at the time, it was like back like 10 years ago, it was like, I don't even remember whoever was famous at that time. But she was just like, oh yeah, no, that's like whatever. Britney Spears is from America. Like Christina Aguilera. Like all, you know, like these, whatever. I think the Kardashians were kind of famous then. Paris Hilton, that was another one. You live near Paris Hilton. And I was like, actually I do. I live about an hour from Paris Hilton.
Does it make you proud to be a good old American when people mention Paris Hilton and all the glory days?
Dear Lord. I was like, that is not real. That is not, okay. I was like, that is like a blip in our country compared to what the rest of the world lives, the rest of the country lives. And I said, that's not real. And I said, and I'll tell you, they're going through stuff too.
Yeah.
They just know how to cover it up a whole lot better because they got a lot more money. Yeah. You know, and so I was able to tell her, like, I was like, you literally just shared I just can't believe it. And like, I mean, and to this day, we're friends on Facebook. And every single time, she'll post something, I'll post something, and we're able to reconnect. She always calls me her sister. She's always, you're
Wow.
my sister. My sister, I'm so proud of you. My sister, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my God. You know? And so that's when I realized that what we were doing was way more than teaching hair. We were
Wow.
not just giving these women a career. We were not just educating these women. It was so much more than that. I mean, we were giving these women hope, and hope in the deepest sense of like we're doing everything we can to ensure that not that you have obviously a career and opportunity to be able to provide for your family, but you know how to care for your family.
Mm.
You know how to protect your family. And you have so much confidence and strength and empowerment within
Yeah.
you that you won't allow injustices to happen on your watch.
Hmm.
And that's really what happened to me when I started going on these different service trips. You know, my first mission was to Kenya with Crossroads.
Yeah.
My second was to Brazil. And I'm realizing, like, oh, this is what it is now. This is what life is. It's going through the crap, allowing God to get you through the crap, and then making sure that other people don't have to go through that same crap.
Hmm.
And teaching those people how to help everybody else after them how to deal with that crap.
Right.
Right?
It almost sounds like discipleship. I feel like someone might have talked about that, but
I know. Weird.
I know.
I know.
It,
It's a weird thing.
it sounds almost like Jesus. I don't know if he was the one that said it, but I'm sure somebody called us to be
Potentially.
disciple makers. Yeah, it's sort of like roughly ringing a bell in my brain right now, but
Yeah. Something dope like that.
yeah. Okay, so then Dianna, as you begin to journey and you're having those like really revelatory moments, like, okay, I wanted to do hair since I was 5. Now you're in these other
Right.
nations, seeing how what God. This is what is so fascinating to me about the way God gives us dreams and skill sets that we almost. It's just so easy to disregard them. Like you said, it could easily be to say, "Well, I'm just a hairstylist, right? Or I'm just a teacher, or I'm
Totally.
just a whatever." So as you begin to have those moments, how did the journey continue for you where that began to crystallize into something where you began to think, this is what I'm doing with my life now? How did that sort of journey form in you?
Because when I would come back home every single time after a trip, I'd be counting down the days until I could go again.
Wow.
Anywhere, whether it was to literally any country that we would go to. It doesn't I could name any one of them. And I'd be like, okay, so I'm back home now. I gotta make money in the salon. I gotta save up money again. I gotta get my clients back in so
Right.
that I can save up money to go again.
Yeah.
That's
And-
truly what it was. And I was
Yeah.
literally counting down the days until I could go
Right.
again.
So when along the way, like you mentioned your friendship with Kaylee, who I'm sure you'll talk about Free Reign, when did that begin to crystallize into something that became Free Reign and became Shear Love International? How did that process actually go?
Well, her and I went to Kenya 3 times together.
Okay.
And one of the last times we went was when I went there to go build the beauty school. Remember, after I had gone and seen everything, and I went to build the beauty school, and I ended up going. I went to go build the beauty school. It was one of the most incredible experiences being there because, I was the only Westerner there. I was there alone as a Westerner, and just there with all the Africans trying to like really calm my first world mentality and my first world thinking to be like, okay, this is not how things work here. IKEA and Target don't exist here. We need to be flexible, Dianna. Get it together.
Yeah.
So there was a whole lot of that. I mean, talk about transformation. And not only that, I got meningitis. I drank unpasteurized milk. Guys, don't do that. Don't do that. Do not drink unpasteurized milk because I thought I was going to die. It was horrific, right? So anyways, I obviously I healed from my meningitis.
Yeah.
I get back, able to finish the beauty school. Kaylee comes. She's a part of the, and she's there. She sees the beauty school for the first time. She's one of the very first clients in the hair school. She got her hair braided up. It was so fun. And then I had an experience with one of the girls there as well. I have these experiences and stories with every single student.
Yeah.
But one of the girls there, she says, promise me that you'll be back here when I graduate. And I was like, man, first rule in missions is don't complain. Second rule in missions is be flexible. Third rule, don't make any promises.
Don't promise anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Those should all actually be number one. Number one, ABC. Those
Right.
are like
Yeah.
You just don't make any promises. And I was like, I really want to be here. And I said all the right things. I was like, I
Right.
really, really want to be here. But I have to make sure that I'm able to come.
Right.
And then she said, no, you have to promise me you'll be here. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I'm going to do everything in my power to come, but it's not in my power. It's in God's power.
Yeah.
And she said, then in God's power, you will be here because I need you to see that I did this. I need you to come back and see for yourself that I became successful. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And of course, like, and she's like dead looking at me in my eyes. And I'm like,
Right.
oh my God. And I broke a rule and I said, I promise you I'll be here.
Yeah.
And I'm literally like, I'm going to sell my car. I don't care what I got to
Yeah.
do. I'm coming back. Right. I'll sell a kidney. I don't care. Like, I'm going to be here. Right. So, anyways, a couple days later, I was at breakfast with the team. There was there's 40 of us on this team.
Yeah.
So, I'm sitting there with a couple members of the team, and I was sharing with them. I was like, I cannot believe it. And I was like, don't tell our team leader. She's going to kill me. And I was like, but I did. I promised I'm coming back. And they were like, Dianna, you're going to get in so much trouble. I'm 30 years old here, like dead. I'm like, I'm going to get in trouble. But you really, like, I mean, we know as missionaries, like, you can't make promises. You just can't. And so I'm saying all this. Kaylee is sitting a couple tables away, and she, like, perks up her head around. And then she walks over and she goes, what did you say? And I was like, what? And she goes, you're coming back here for graduation? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, I'm coming with you. And then walked away. And I was like with her hand up, I'm coming with you. I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on a second. I was like, crap. Ah! But yeah, her and I ended up working it out. And this is the craziest part. We get there for graduation. 2 days before the graduation, we got bed bugs. Okay.
Oh, geez.
We got bed bugs, and we got the worst infection from bed bugs. Okay. This is, I mean, guys, we're getting real here. Talk about the radical. This is very radical right now. I had the most unbelievable, uncontrollable diarrhea. Kaylee was like gray. Like, I mean, her skin was like gray. Like, she looked like she was going to, seriously, she looked like she was going to throw up like for 3 days, but nothing came out.
Wow.
She seriously, and she couldn't eat. She was literally wasting away as I was having explosive diarrhea. It seriously was the most insane thing. And not only that, we had bed bugs, our entire faces, everything, our whole body. We were covered. We looked like we had the measles on top of, and we're just like, no, we did not fundraise our butts off to be able to get here. And it was difficult. It really, really was.
Yeah.
And we're literally sitting, trying to prop ourselves up in the middle of the graduation. Like, I can do this. Like, I'm sweating. I'm sweating, and she's like freezing. And like, oh my God, it was the worst. Okay. But we're like, no, like, because the enemy does not want us to be here at all. The enemy wants us out of here. The enemy wants us out of commission.
Right.
And, and the more that we've been doing, and that was it. That was the first. It was actually back when Kaylee was like, I'm coming back with you. That was when it started.
Yeah.
But this trip, when her and I went together, we got bed bugs. We were so sick. After that, we went to Uganda to go work with 31 Bits, which is another great company that's out there that's employing women who were victims of the LRA, the Lord's Resistance Army. Remember? Yeah. So like, they're all victims of that. Like, I mean, so many of these women were victims of all kinds of war crimes. It was terrible. So we went out there to go work with them. And while we were out there, Kaylee and I were in the process of getting kidnapped until I have the biggest mouth in the world. So I'm not, everyone's scared. Like, as soon as my mouth opens up, no one's trying to kidnap me. But literally, we were in the process of getting mugged and kidnapped, and then I went berserk. But yeah, in the bush of Uganda, it was intense. But in that moment, we were both like, we're in this for life. Like, her and I, at that moment, we were like, we're in this for life. So after that, Kaylee actually ended up coming here. She ended up coming over here. She started to get, she went to go to get her her degree in counseling. She got her master's in counseling. She's a therapist. And then she went to go work with children who were rescued from sex trafficking in Thailand. I went on to go work in helping build up beauty schools in Mexico. There was an existing beauty school there that I helped develop. I went back to Brazil, worked with those women again, and worked with a few new women out there as well. I went back to Kenya, like, I was doing all these things, and
Right.
then, yeah, and it's so we separate. I mean, we were always connected, but we were always supportive of what we were doing. But then, I ended up going to Cambodia. And while I was in Cambodia, she was in Thailand. And she was like, yeah, whenever you're done doing whatever it is you're doing in Cambodia, you need to come here because the city that I'm in is the sex trafficking capital of the world. Literally, thousands of men, women, and children are being trafficked here. And you need to get your butt over here and you need to start one of these things right here. And I was like, okay. So I packed up from Cambodia and and I came here to Pattaya, and I never left.
Yeah.
And so what Kaylee started doing here prior, because she was actually going out into the red light districts also to get to know these women and to learn their stories and to see, like, how can I help? Like, I'm just one person, but like, what could I do to help? And so she started actually going, because the sex industry usually gets started here like in the late afternoon. I mean, there's a lot of places where it's just going on all day long, but in most places it starts like 4, 5, 6 p.m. So she would go there earlier in the day and like bring nail polish and bring like hairspray and bobby pins and like braid their hair. And so she took pictures of herself like doing hair of these girls. She sent me like a buttload of pictures of all these things, and then she just wrote, "I get it.
Wow.
I get it." And I was like, oh, like, and that again, it has nothing to do with doing hair. It has
Right.
absolutely nothing. But she was sitting there and her hands were in the hair of and like for a woman, like, that's your hair, that's your crown.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
something that you hold so dear. And to trust a stranger, to trust someone, and they're like, oh, me, and then all these girls start coming, because I mean, most girls can braid hair. Kaylee's a good braider. She does her hair, she does her own hair really well, and so, you know, and she's doing cute little French braids on everyone, and they're like lining up to get their hair done by her, and she's like, I get it. Oh my gosh. And she goes, it has nothing to do with doing hair. Nothing. It
Wow.
is about how they feel and what's going on when they're sitting right in front of you. It's the communication and the relationship and the interaction that you have with them while they're in your chair. It has nothing to do with hair at all. And so I ended up going over there, and that's when I ended up starting Shear Love. And because I was working with every other organization that I worked with. I was basically like freelancing. I was
Yeah.
like their consult. I was like their beauty school consultant. So
Okay.
I would go in and I'd say, you should do this, this, and this. I'll help you with construction. I'll help you with designing and things like that, whatever. And so then I end up in Thailand. And this was after I had already been to Cambodia, Uganda, Kenya,
Okay.
Mexico, Brazil, and done all these training programs. And not only that, but before I started doing all this,
Yeah.
I was a platform artist in America. I was an educator, and I went around the country teaching at all the different hair shows, like to professional
Right.
hairdressers.
Okay.
I taught advanced hair cutting, styling, a little bit of coloring, but it was mostly like advanced hairstyling and hair cutting.
Yeah.
And, like, to professional stylists all over the country, right? So so there I had a lot of experience doing that. But then I get to Thailand, and I'm here, and I was working under another foundation. And then what my plan was, okay, I'll start this, everything will be great, I'll leave it to these
Yeah.
girls, and I'll move to another country, because I mean, that's just what I wanted to start doing.
Right.
And then someone said to me, they're like, why don't you just like start your own foundation? Like, why don't you just do this and do your own thing and start your own deal, and you raise funds, and like you can like talk to hair companies and get like product donations and
Right.
whatever. And I was like, I don't really know if I have the experience to like do all that.
Yeah.
And then the person was like, how many countries have you done these programs in now? And I'm like, oh, a few. Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
We're on 6 now. So this is a lot. And they're like, yeah, I think that you just need permission. So here's your permission.
Wow.
You have permission to go do this.
Yeah.
That was a lot. And it really was. I mean, because I still had so much. I mean, and I had been in therapy. I was really working through all that stuff. But I still was like, there was still so much that was holding me back from like pushing full forward into this. And at the same time that I was starting Shear Love, Kaylee was developing an educational program for Westerners, to equip them to fight for freedom and to fight against injustice. And so she was coming up with injustice trainings, for people to be able to learn more.
Right.
And but to learn for two different things: to learn how to fight in their own communities at home, but then also to fight abroad. Okay, but then to use the own talents and skill sets they already have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a huge thing that, I mean, again, that goes back to, I'm just a hairdresser. What's a hairstylist going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Fighting human trafficking. That's lame.
Right.
Like, and you'd think, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I don't have one of these, whatever. That's the thing. Kaylee is a therapist. Yeah. Kaylee is a counselor, but she also just has a huge passion for like making sure that people know and understand their place. And know and understand that their voice matters, regardless of their level of education. And her papa said to her, and it was one of their last conversations that they had, and he said, you can't deny those that you're wanting to serve. You can't deny them your fullest potential. Wow. Don't do that. Yeah, that's heavy.
Yeah,
right?
No kidding.
And then she's like, well, looks like I got to finish college. Dang it.
Yeah.
But it's true. But that was the thing too. And that was the thing for me. It was like, that even resonates with me as a hairstylist. Like, yeah, because right now I'm being the consultant and I'm like helping out here and there.
Right.
But I'm not owning this. I'm not owning what I'm doing. And if I own what I'm doing, the way Kaylee is owning what she's doing, we're going to blow this up. And now we have partners in 9 countries. So Jeez. As soon as I said yes, as soon as I was like, yeah, let's do this, now people are reaching out to us saying, please help. We don't have to reach out to anybody. They're coming to us saying, we need help with, because even then, like, I was work with so many of our educators. There's about 11 or 12 different educators that have contributed to our curriculum. And our curriculum is like serious, like it's huge. And, we have all, and again, and this is people contributing, also other people who are like, but I just do hair. And I'm like, yeah, but we're also teaching them life skills. So we have budgeting classes. We have personal development classes. We do discipleship. They have Bible study every day. We get Bibles in their own language. Yeah. So they're able to learn. And we do that in every location that we're in. So, you can't, number one, do not deny those of your fullest potential. And number two, you could be a plumber, and I promise you, you can serve people if you say yes.
Right. So as you've gone through that entire journey, Dianna, and you and Kaylee have journeyed together, right? You began to see the Lord really birth what became Free Reign International and now Shear Love International. And now, like you said, you're in multiple countries, right? Just watching the Holy Spirit step at a time lead every one of those ventures. At this stage where you're at now, like, what is God doing with you in the midst of getting to see all that happen? Like when you sit and reflect on all the things that God's done, what do you feel like he's doing in you in this season as you're getting to see all of these things birth that at 5 years old in kindergarten you would have never known, but now are happening? What's it like for you in this season?
It's really interesting because this year I've been in Thailand for 5 years, which is funny that you say 5 years, and I've actually been here for 5 years now. So we're still considered a baby organization. We're still very, and we're still very new. We're still just budding. And, but yeah, in me right now, it's like, man, the sky is not even the limit.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like, the sky is the limit. No, it's not. That's not even the limit for our God at all. And because it's crazy that we have been able to pair, that Kaylee and I have been able to pair the vocational training that I've developed and then the justice training that she's developed. So when we created Free Reign together, it was, our tagline is educate survivors, equip fighters. So that's our tagline. And it coincides perfectly because, we have so many people that come through that that come through that that want to learn how they can use their talents. And then we have this whole other group of people here that are like, help me, get me out of my terrible, awful, dangerous situation.
Yeah.
And I'm the educator, and so Free Reign is our umbrella organization, and then Shear Love falls under it, and then Injustice Response Training, and then our other one, which is it's kind of like our I don't want to say our backseat. It's not a backseat. There's not one that's like huge in your face. We do missionary care. So everyone in our organization is provided with therapy. Everyone's required to have breaks. Everyone's required to and not just like a 10-minute break during the day. Like when we go through our therapy sessions, like we need to leave the city and we do intensive therapy sessions for like a full week, and we're out of the city and we're away.
Wow.
So we do a lot of that kind of stuff too, and that's more so for our people that are on the field.
Yeah.
But seeing how this is growing, I'll tell you this. Let me tell you how good God is. Okay, so back to how many partners we have all over the world. Every country that we're in, except for Kenya. Kenya is not included in this. But in every other country that we're in, it's either a closed country, for one, or it is on the top 25 list of hardest countries to work in.
Wow.
Yeah, the hardest countries to accomplish any kind of Christian work in, spiritual work, religious work, anything like that. Even non-religious humanitarian work.
Yeah.
The hardest countries on earth is where we're at.
Wow.
That's huge. That is huge. So that's number one. Number two, we've been praying this prayer for years now, and this prayer has actually been in existence, and we actually talked about this the other day, that the red light district is shut down, completely shut down. Like, huge answer to prayer. And Luke, you've been in that red light district.
Yeah.
You've seen the gnarliness that it is.
Yeah.
And there's literally, every bar is shut. It is and it's dark. The lights aren't even on. It is dark. So that's been a huge answer to prayer, but then also a huge burden on us, because now there's thousands of women that are out of work.
Right.
So we've been working with a few other organizations that are here in town, and I was like, we got to do something, and we got to do something right now, because these women are hurting, and these women are literally they're going to be starving, and it comes down to it. The sex industry is, no one wants to be there, but they don't really care because they've got to feed their families. And so when you have to feed your family, you'll literally do anything. If your little girls needed food, you would go without. You would sacrifice yourself. You do that. Everyone gets innate. You do that for the people that you have those relationships with in your life.
Right.
And if they can't even do the only thing they can do, you die. That's desperation on a level that I can't even imagine.
Right.
So we actually went down there, and we ended up talking to these women. We were passing out condoms. We were doing all these things. And I remember that one of our girls from last year, she knows how to knit and she knows how to crochet. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to call her and see if we can get her in here. And she's going to teach some girls how to knit.
Right.
And actually, I've been wanting to start a sewing program for a long time now, but I just don't know how to sew.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I'm sitting, and even then, I tried to have my grandma teach me how to crochet, and man, I'm just not good.
Yeah.
I'm not good at everything, Luke. I gotta admit, I'm not. But I was like, we're starting a sewing program tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I called Crossroads, my homies up at Crossroads, and they were able to help us start a program in 3 days.
Wow.
They were able to help us purchase all the supplies, the tools, the yarn, everything that we needed to be able to start this. And we had women ready to go in 3 days. We're like, go, let's do it. And I think, we ended up, we went out on a Friday night to go start talking to women and whatever. And all this, and they were like, yes, please, me, I want to come. Please, can I come? Please, can I come?
Right.
And sure enough, and now we have 13 women that are just knitting away. Yeah. And we're and in 3 days we started because the church came together. It's like when God is backing it, there's literally nothing that can't happen.
Yeah.
There's just nothing that can't. nothing is impossible. And it's like, I mean, I feel like we hear that a lot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We hear in the church often, you know, like nothing's impossible with God. No, no, it's real though.
Yeah.
Like I've actually lived it and I've seen it, that it's like, and one of our volunteers, Dorothea, she was actually talking, well, I was talking to her the night before we went, and she was telling me, she was like, Dianna, I went down there to go do a prayer walk, like just to drive through and pray and, you know,
Right.
see what's going on. And even the red light district is quarantined, and there's still like 1,000 women down there. Like
Wow.
I don't know what to do. Like there's still
Right.
these thousands of women that are down there. Like, and I was like, well then, and that's when I was like, we're doing this, we're going.
Right.
So and I'm just like, I just can't. And I said to her, I was like, can you imagine like what is going through your head to be
Right.
in the middle of a global pandemic and you're fighting this hard? And then she said to me, it was literally the most profound thing in the world. She said, and of course I'm going to butcher it. She said it's so much more profound than I did. She says they have a choice. They have a choice of starvation or the virus. So they're choosing the virus.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's it.
Right.
You starve or you get sick. And they're like, well, I might get sick or I will starve.
Yeah.
So one of them is 100% going to happen.
Right.
The other one, maybe 50-50. So I'm going to keep doing it because I've got kids to feed. I've got parents to feed. So many of them are feeding like generations of people back in their villages. And it's just, and I'm like, and that was just like, I was like, no, to have that option. And this is the thing. It's like, and the majority of people who are getting the coronavirus are surviving it. The majority of people.
Right.
They are getting it and they are recovering. Thank God. Right. Yeah. But so even then, like in their minds, they're like, well, I'll recover and I'll keep going.
Yeah.
But it's more than just, okay, if I get it, I'll most likely recover. It's not just that. It's the fear that's being set, right? I mean, like, I know in America, right? Isn't it crazy right now?
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah, the fear that's being put on people. It's like the riots that are happening over toilet paper. Like, Luke, what's going on?
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I don't know. But I'm like, and this is the thing, it's not the virus, it's the fear that they're out there against.
Right.
It's the fear. And it's like, I don't know. So I was like, absolutely not. We're not allowing this to continue. These ladies are coming. We're making hats and we're going to sell a crap ton of them. And we've sold so many at this point. And thank God, because now I want to turn this into a permanent program.
Right.
And this is actually my dream of 4 years now that I've been wanting to start a sewing program. Oh my God. And we're going to call it Sew Free. Isn't that the cutest?
I love it.
So free. Oh my gosh. It's so cute.
Yeah.
So I'm working on web design right now. And how crazy is it that sewfree.org was available?
Wow.
Like that, I feel like that would have been taken by now. So SEW free, so free. It's available. And I'm like, that is awesome.
Yeah.
So we're working on web design. We're working on new designs for hats. We're working on designs for scarves. Like we're going to have a full-blown online shop ready to roll. Right. And it's like, and all of this came from the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You know, because God will be glorified, period.
Yeah. He's going to be glorified in it.
Yeah. Period.
Yeah.
As crazy as this time is. And I don't know, I mean, and I'm shocked that no one has made this connection yet. All of you Spanish pastors out there, Corona means crown. Guys.
Yeah.
Right there, dude.
Yeah.
The crown of Jesus it's happening.
Yeah, he's doing something in the midst of all of it, right? So
huge.
With all the things then, like you said, even in the midst of the Corona crazy, God is obviously using it for good, which we know he does, right? And when you think, Dianna, about what's going on now, what I want to maybe to kind of wrap up our time, what I would love is in the midst of everything going on, maybe 2 questions at the end here. One, for those that are listening, kind of whatever stage in life they're in, with Shear Love Free Reign, one, how can people best be involved with what you guys are putting your hands to? So, and we'll put all the websites and all the connections in the show notes for everybody. But then what I do with the last question, I'd love to hear from you, seeing what you've seen now, knowing that God does the impossible, like you just mentioned. What do you dream about when you think about the future now, given everything that's gone on? So How do people support what's happening? And what are your dreams? I'd love to hear what are the things that keep you up at night now.
Oh, I don't know. We don't have time for that.
Yeah.
But I'll say number one is prayer. We need prayer. We need prayer support like nobody's business, because the city that I live in is dark. Our program our program that is up in India is dark. When I was walking through that red light district, it's a slum and a red light district. There was a 9-year-old girl for sale at 10 o'clock in the morning. Our team up there needs prayer. Okay? Yeah. Needs so much prayer. You can't just send in people to bulldoze those things and have, you just can't.
Right.
But there needs to be so much spiritual strength amongst our team. Prayer is number one. Number two, obviously, is financially support.
Right.
All of our programs you can financially support at shearloveinternational.org, freereign.org, injusticeresponse.org, and then soon to be, not yet, but soon to be sofree.org. But to financially support, you can buy a beanie, you can buy a hat, you can, there's so many different things. I mean, you can literally give $10,000 and we can build a brand new training center in another country in the world.
Jeez.
Like, it just, you know what I mean? It comes down to, can you afford to give up your Starbucks today? Great. Because we could use your $5.
Yeah.
We can absolutely use your $5. Oh, you're a billionaire? Great. Send us 10 grand so we can go save another dozen women in a developing country from sex trafficking, from labor exploitation, and from domestic violence.
Yeah.
So like, there's literally a place for everyone.
Right.
Okay. And then also educate yourself. That is huge. You have to educate yourself on, if you go to injusticeresponse.org. Okay. There's, we're developing it right now. It's all still in the process, but there's a ton of it that's already ready to go.
Right.
Injusticeresponse.org/IRTV. Injustice Response TV. There is 40 different videos that you can watch for free.
Yeah.
Okay. That give you information, that are educational, that we have an unbelievable media team.
Yeah.
Okay. Unbelievable that we've been able to film short film documentaries. We've been able to film we have just a short film that we've done. It's called Section 6. PJ Esaturo is the one who came out and did that. Holy moly, he did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
We have our promo videos. Nick Worrell actually came out. I don't know if you know Nick. He's from Riverside as well. But Nick came out. He filmed oh my gosh, he did incredible footage for us, really sharing the beauty of what it is we get to do.
Yeah.
And then we have a girl here that's here full time, Dorothea Scholes. Look her up. She's fantastic. The Artful Dodo. How cute is that?
Yeah.
Because all the students call her Dodo. It's adorable. But she does all of our photography right now and all of our videography. And we're just at the very end of doing a full series called Freedom Found. And all of those, those are personal, intimate, deep stories of our students who wanted to share their testimonies to let people know all over the world, I've been through this. You're going to get through today.
Right.
I've been through this and you're going to see tomorrow. I promise you.
Yeah.
And then there's also, oh gosh, at least 10 videos of our staff, of our staff that are up saying, this is my experience.
Right.
This is what I see on the front lines.
Right.
There is so much content for you to absorb,
right.
to learn more and more about the work that we're doing. And then also, honestly, to learn about what trafficking looks like globally.
Right. So, because, we'll put all that stuff in the show notes. And for those listening, I've watched a number, especially Dorothea's stuff. She's brilliant in her artistry. It's really incredible. So,
absolutely.
One of the beauties, Dianna, I love of just hearing your journey. And I really appreciate you sharing everything from even being a little kid on up. So here you are at your stage in life. You're watching God do all these things in the nations. And obviously, we can still never dream even as big as God dreams, right? That's kind of the beauty of it. But when you think of what you want to see now going into the future, even so we can be praying, those listening can be praying for the dreams that God has given you and the team. Yeah. What do you dream about? When you think of gosh, Lord, this is what I want to see. What do you want to see? What do you hope for?
I want to see all of our programs in every developing nation in the world.
Yeah. So small stuff, like little tiny
very
things.
Small.
Yeah.
very tiny, very tangible, no big
Right.
deal. Hakuna Matata. I really do. I want to see sheer love in every developing nation because hair is universal.
Yeah.
Hair is everywhere. Everyone needs haircuts.
Yeah.
And what we've done, we have 3 programs in Kenya. One is in a rural country, a rural like area where it's like you literally like the highway ends and it's a dirt road, and then you turn left at the 4th tree,
Right.
and then turn right when you see 2 tumbleweeds, like
Yeah.
literally and then you see a monkey cross the road and you're there. Like, I mean, it's like a place like that, and they're bartering services for goods. So hair
Right.
is very, very important. Can you imagine, like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Hey, I'll cut your son's hair and you're gonna give me 8 tomatoes.
Yeah.
It's totally
Yeah.
cool.
It's awesome.
I'll do your mom's hair and you can give me a dozen eggs.
Right.
100%. Like, that's awesome. And so that's why this can work anywhere.
Right.
Absolutely anywhere. Uh, I want so badly the 2 huge areas that I really, really want to be to develop in is Latin America. There's so much happening in Colombia right now, and
Yeah.
I don't even know how it would be possible, but I would love to be able to get to Venezuela. There is so much turmoil happening there right now, and these people need so much.
Yeah.
Those are huge. Colombia, Venezuela, and South America, like for sure, they need it so badly. And and then the Middle East, and I know you have a huge heart for the Middle
Yeah.
East.
Yeah.
Man, because the Syrian refugee crisis just rocked me. And it's just, and it was because I was here when that whole thing was happening, and I'm just like, oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? How do we help? What do we do? And then I'm like, oh wait, they don't need hairstylists, they need soldiers. So once the soldiers are done doing what they need to do, then we will happily walk in and clean it up and make it look real pretty.
Yeah.
So I mean, the Middle East is someplace that has been on my heart for a lot of years.
Right.
And yeah, the women out there, man, do they need hope.
Yeah.
They need so much hope. I mean, trafficking is definitely an issue there, but just the things I've heard of domestic violence, like these women just need to have a better view of themselves to not have to put up with that.
Yeah.
That's huge. And I think that's another, and then for our injustice response training, same, they're paired.
Yeah.
They're able to go hand in hand. And we've actually been asked in two different countries. In Kenya, there's 2 different places in Kenya that have asked us to come to do trainings. And then also, I'm really excited. We're hoping to be able to go to India to do a training as well.
Wow.
So, yeah, to be able to work with, but not only that, to be able to empower people from the Western world to go out and fight, but also doing prevention work with people in developing nations to tell them these are the signs to look for. When someone comes into your little tiny slum and offers you a job in China, offers you a job in Thailand, offers you a job no, this is not real. This is not real, and they're doing this to manipulate you, and they're doing this to lie to you. They are going to take your passport, they're going to take your travel documents, and you will be their slave. You will literally belong to them.
Yeah.
And they will threaten you within an inch of your life, and you literally won't be able to leave because you don't know the local language of the country. Like, I mean, and so I really want to be able to get on the ground and do these preventative, because, like, I love the work that I get to do, but I don't like that I have to do it.
Right.
I don't want to, no one should be trafficked, period. And that's the thing too. It's like all of our girls in our programs here, 90% of them come from, 90% of them come from trafficking. But we do have those few that were like, no, like they don't, like this girl lived in a slum and her family had nothing. And they were about to get to the point where they were going to push her into the red light district. And we were able to stand there.
Wow.
We were able to stand in the gap and say, no, not on my watch.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to see anyone be exploited. And if we can stand in the way of that happening, we'll do that.
Yeah.
So that's why I really, really want to see our injustice response trainings really move into preventative work in these nations as well. And I know that's a huge dream of Kaylee's.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate you sharing that, because I think, whoever's going to listen, it just gives us just a real direction to be able to be praying, right? And to, like you said, to go to those websites, to get informed, get educated, find out what's happening. And so, Dianna, I'm so appreciative of you sharing your story. This was just, thank you. This was gold.
So amazing. Dude, you're gold. Are you kidding? You're the dopest.
Dianna and I did say that dope needs to come back and be part of a normal, healthy
It
vocabulary
does.
for all
Why?
people. So if
It
you hear nothing else
does.
from the interview, just know that if you start saying dope, good things will happen. And that's really all you need to know.
Things,
So
dude, good things will happen.
good
Let me
things will
tell you.
happen. So yeah, Dianna, thank you. This was brilliant. It was lovely to hear your story.
Oh my
Thanks for
God.
sharing.
Thank you so much, Luke. I appreciate it.
You got it. So, well, everybody, until the next conversation, grace and peace.